So Prelights is, we think of it as a sort of news and views for service for preprints. It was started a little over a year ago by the Company of Biologists, non-profit publisher and community organization. And they recruited a group of early career researchers to select preprints that interest them, write a short summary, a highlight, communicate with the authors, and the idea was to develop a platform where people could discuss and highlight preprints. It's also a way to promote awareness about preprints and preprint adoption. And the idea that the Company of Biologists had was that they would also, in doing so, create a community of early career researchers who communicate with each other, advocate for preprints, advocate for the field that they work in. Well, there's two reasons. One is that preprinting itself in the biological sciences is not the norm and it's not the standard. So awareness and adoption of preprints is still thought of as a kind of cause that people should be engaged in. Also, though, as the number of preprints go up, it's also impossible to impossible to read everything that comes up on bioRxiv. So the idea also is that the community will help to curate what is an exciting bit of research. Something that the journal does by putting its stamp on the paper later. But there's two components to that, right? So the first issue is about the risk to researchers in terms of being scooped or impact of their research if they preprint. So dealing with that first, fields. So first of all, this preprinting idea was anyway borrowed from physics. In physics, it is common practice. It has been since the 90s to preprint everything. And in fields such as that, where preprinting is the norm, it is actually the preprint that establishes a precedence. So in fact, it's actually the other way around. You can't be scooped if you preprint because that establishes that you've done the work. In the life sciences, there is still some possibility that perhaps anecdotally someone might see your preprint and then they might rush out their own research, and so there are some possibilities there. But I would say that those anecdotes are being overwhelmed by the opposite kind of anecdote, where the preprint actually helps researchers find each other. If there are stories that are overlapping, it gives them a chance to collaborate and co-submit. So I think those concerns will actually fall away as adoption grows. The second issue, which is reporting to the general public before the research is peer reviewed. There has been some consensus that perhaps journalists should actually not report on preprints necessarily until they have been peer reviewed. From Prelights' perspective, we actually view both preprinting and the discussion of preprints by the community as a service by scientists for other scientists. So the goal is not to generate public attention per se, it's to communicate research as quickly as possible to the scientific community. It could also kind of support a slightly longer form type of journalism, because if you see the preprint, you do have time to engage with the authors and speak to other scientists, speak to the community, access community resources like Prelights to form your news piece. The issue seems to arise with these sort of breaking news type situations where they want to discuss a potential new cure for something. But in those situations, the embargo system can cause problems too, because people still rush to publish. They're given a few hours and they rush to publish their pieces, and you can also end up with problematic reporting. So I don't think preprints cause a new problem. It will just have to be the journalists and scientists that come to a consensus about whether or not to report preprints. Plan S has caused lots of controversy because people are not sure whether it's actually going to drive change the way it should. The Plan U, to me, to mandate preprint deposition sounds more reasonable actually, because it doesn't require transformation of the business model of the journal. All major journals already allow preprinting.